Most law firms think their problem is not having enough clients, but the truth is usually the opposite. They have too many leads, too much noise, too much unconstructed work, and no one truly controls what is happening inside the firm. And that is exactly why I developed the Smart Law Firm Management System and the expert role within it. Welcome to the Rainmaker system I developed. Today, I want to talk about one of the most important roles in a modern law firm, the expert. But even more importantly, I want to explain why I built an entire system around this role. Because, in my view, the biggest problem in the legal world is not legal, it's operational. Most law firms operate in chaos. They react instead of manage. Cases expand without control. Clients demand endless work. That was never clearly defined. Lawyers work extremely hard, but do not know whether a case is even profitable. And eventually, firm owners lose control. This is why I developed a smart system that breaks the entire firm into efforts. Inside our system, every law firm is divided into 5 core efforts: sales, case management, marketing, development and administration, and finance and collection. Then every effort is broken down into sub-efforts. Why is this so important? Because the moment every activity inside a firm is defined, documented, priced, and assigned an economic value percentage, you can finally manage a law firm like a real business. The system knows who is working on what, how long every task takes, what every activity is worth, where the firm is losing money, which employees are more efficient, which cases are more profitable, and where bottlenecks are created. This is exactly where the expert comes in. Inside the sales effort, I divided the workflow into 5 sub-efforts: scheduler, meeting manager, closer assistant, and expert. And the expert is a cornerstone of both the sales process and then the legal workflow. Why? Because without a professional analysis, there's no real sale. You cannot truly know whether the lead is even relevant, whether there is a service that can actually be sold, whether the case is profitable, whether the risk is too high, how much work the case will require, and what the correct legal strategy should be. The expert is essentially the person who prevents the firm from wasting time and money. In the system I developed, every lead that gets scheduled for a meeting must include an expert opinion. And this is not just a free-form text. The system is designed so that the expert must define the possible legal service, the scope and boundaries of representation, the probabilities and risks, the required actions, the effort level for each action, and how the case will be broken down into work stages. And this changes everything, because then the meeting manager arrives fully prepared. They do not waste the sales meeting trying to understand the case. They already know what can be sold, what cannot be sold, the chances of success, the risks involved, and what the client will actually receive. This creates much higher quality sales meeting. One of the biggest problems in firms that receive high lead volume is wasted consultations. Meetings where there is nothing meaningful to sell. Meetings that should never have been scheduled in the first place. My system dramatically reduces this problem because the expert filters in advance irrelevant leads, problematic clients, unprofitable cases, and cases with no legal strategy. But here comes the most important part. The expert does not only help sell, the expert actually builds the case inside the system. Every case is broken down into sub-efforts. For example, petition drafting, lawsuit drafting, court appearance, work with government authorities, document preparation, client communication, affidavit preparation, interview preparation, negotiation, appeals, and every other legal activity that can exist in managing a case. Then the system knows how much each sub-effort is worth, how long it is supposed to take, who is responsible for it, and whether the case remains profitable in reality. This may be the most important part of the system, because most law firms do not actually know where they are losing money. For example, a client who demands endless communication, a case requiring too many meetings, an employee who spends 3 times longer on a task, a service sold at too low price. The moment everything is broken down into measurable efforts, everything can be analyzed. And that is what transfers a law firm from a chaotic practice into a manageable business. And there is a critical point. A lawyer does not sell results. A lawyer sells services. That is why the expert is also responsible for ensuring that the engagement agreement clearly includes the probabilities of success, the risks, the service limitations, and the client's understanding of what the firm does and does not guarantee. This protects the client, the attorney, and the entire firm. Ultimately, my goal was to build a system that does not just help manage a law firm, but a system that knows how to think like a law firm, measure like a business, and operate like a machine. A system that connects CRM, sales, case management, profitability, employee management, and work pricing into one unified methodology. And the expert is the one most important part of the methodology. A law firm that does not measure efforts does not truly control the firm. And a firm that does not control its efforts will eventually be controlled by chaos. The smart system I developed was built to transform law firms into measurable, controllable, and genuinely profitable businesses. If you want to learn more about the system, the methodology, and how to build a law firm that operates like a real business, subscribe to my channel, Rainmaker Lawyer on YouTube.